Everyone has a scar on their body from something dumb they did as a child. What's your story? Submitted by Hikon0. I was 5 and was sitting on the toilet. I found a razor blade, not the kind for shaving, and started playing with it. I was cutting lines into the wall when the razor slipped away from the wall. My hand had some momentum and the blade cut into my thigh. At the time, I was scared about telling Mom, so I went to bed and held my finger on it. Oh, and when I was 3 or 4, I was riding underneath a grocery basket while Mom was pushing. I was watching the wheel spinning fast. I went to put my finger on the wheel and it was pulled in between the wheel and metal casing. Broke a vase. Tried to glue it back together with toothpaste. I left it by a bedroom door and forgot about it. Ran into the bedroom later and promptly stepped on it. I burned myself on a Morrison's ready meal. My dad bought me a Swiss Army knife. As I was checking out one of its many blades, a bee landed on my lap and I instinctively freaked out and stabbed myself. Been jumping on a mattress. Hit the radiator. Cracked my skull open. I was playing freeze dance in kindergarten, spinning around, and when the teacher said freeze, I smashed my face into a table, causing me to break my nose. The second I was born, I clawed my own face and I got a small scar. It's not very visible anymore. When I was in kindergarten, I found out what a world record was. So I tried to be the first ever kindergartner to do a front flip into a bathtub. Now, I've never even done a front flip. I was basing everything from my form to my execution of it on Power Rangers. So, it went about as good as you thought it would go. I jumped, face first, no tuck, roll, anything, into the sharp corner of the bathtub and busted my chin open. My twin sister was just standing there screaming, and so was I. Blood was everywhere, and when my mom came in she looked horrified. Got my chin glued back together pretty much because I refused to get stitches or get it cauterized, because they both sounded super painful. Rescued a praying mantis in a steep wooded area. Fell really hard on a sharp rock and opened up my knee. The mantis was fine though. I was so pumped to eat my toaster strudel that I just shoved my hand into the toaster oven while it was still on, like a bear pawing at a beehive. The top of my wrist hit the heat bar. Not sure what the word for this is. Dead on while it was still red hot. 18 years later. It's a pretty subtle scar. But God, that hurt like a bitch at the time. The dumbest part of this incident, despite the fact that my wrist had just audibly and excruciatingly sizzled, I somehow thought that the crisped skin that remained was a flake of toaster strudel that had fallen off, and proceeded to eat it. Me rinds did not taste good. Me and a few of my friends played a very intellectual game with a can of deodorant. You take a spray can, put it close to your skin, and spray it. The longest to last wins. Now all 4 of us have the same circular scar on our hands from the burn. Have a scar on the inner part of my thigh from riding a bicycle. I decay exactly how, but I fell and the bike ripped my inner thigh to fuck. Blood was everywhere. Had to get stitches. When they were doing that, I saw chunks of my flesh being pulled off from the needles. I remember being on the gurney in the hallway, 'cause the bitch-ass hospital didn't have rooms, and my dumbass had the habit of wearing shorts without boxers, so I felt extra uncomfortable and weird. I was lying there, and I was scared AF. I touched the outer part of the gash wound, and I felt flesh. It's now a 5-inch scar, and one side of the scar is a little bit concaved. Supposedly that's the side that got fucked up the most. So the scar itself looks like it dips a little on the side. Doctor said 'cause I was chubby. My thick thighs saved me from getting my leg chopped off. Better yet, it saved me from getting my dick chopped off too. Point is, THICC thighs saves lives. Edit. Added details. Learning how to ride a bike when I was 6. I was in my house learning how to ride a bike when my mom told me there was nuggets for dinner. I crashed into something and hit my forehead on the wall. My mom came rushing towards me and I said, "Oh, it's fine." I touched my forehead and saw something red. I even have ketchup for the nuggets. Quote, my mother started crying of laughter. When she stopped, she brought me to the hospital and I just had some stitches. We then went to McDonald's so we still had nuggets. Long story short, don't ride a bike in your apartment, kids. The scar left behind from a huge bite a German Shepherd took off of my left hip. He was beyond the fence and I was playing with his owner, chasing each other around in the yard. We were both 9 at the time. The dog got so worked up by our laughter and constant running around that he broke through the fence, pushed me to the ground and bit me really hard. He was pretty much my size at the time. An amazingly strong animal. He was only protecting his owner, thinking we were fighting or something. I hid that scar from my family my entire life because I was at my friend's house to play without their permission. It took months for the wound to heal and the use of a couple of powder antibiotics that my granddad, farmer, kept in the house to tend to his animals. That was when I started to wash my own clothes, to the sheer delight of my mom, who saw that as a great sign of maturity given my age at the time. My family does not know about that episode even today and I am a grown-ass 45-year-old guy. I have a scar from something dumb I did as an adult. I was working at a holiday resort and we were doing games in the pool which involved a hula hoop. My job was to get people enjoying it and having a good time. So to build the atmosphere I decided to do a dolphin dive through the hoop that my colleague was holding. What I didn't realize was that the water was only waist deep. I hit my head and shoulder on the bottom of the pool very hard and now sport a beautiful scar on my left temple. I feel lucky to be alive. I didn't study for an exam and I knew I was gonna fail. I faked having a stomach ache and now I have a scar on my belly from an appendix operation. Probably 5 or 6 years old. Doing swimming lessons at a place in New Zealand. The pool had metal bars all around it a few cm under the water to be held onto when you were too short, the water deeper. I was sort of jumping, bouncing in the shallow end listening to instructions and somehow lost my footing and fell with my chin slamming right down onto the bar and blood absolutely everywhere. I don't know how one manages to slip not just in a non-slip children's swimming lesson shallow pool, nor how I even managed to injure myself doing so, but I did and I've got a tiny little scar under my chin to show for it. I didn't go back to the place for many years. Live overseas, but mother is Kiwi and we were on holiday. But eventually when I did, age 12 or 13, it turns out they removed the bars on all sides, even the deep end of the pool, because they were afraid my parents might sue. They never would have even considered it. One of the other kids in that swimming class actually asked why there was nothing to hold onto, except for the rather difficult to reach ledge in the deep end, and the instructor explained my above story. They weren't aware that I was the infamous kid who caused all that trouble, so were quite shocked at my laughter. Accidentally broke my grandmother's face that was sitting on a table. Got burned with a cigarette. 15 years later, scar is still there. Thanks, Grandma. When I was 12, I was wheeling a grill up a hill. I wanted to bring it to my fort in the woods. Well, I lost my grip and one of the grill's leg came down, sliced my ankle. It was pretty deep too. I probably should have gotten stitches but was too embarrassed of the whole thing. So I washed it out, put Neosporin and wrapped my ankle with gauze. Repeated this for a month. Now I have a good-sized scar. Edit. Thank you, kind stranger, for my first silver. I could have got the scar but made my brother take one for the team this year. I was going to get hit with a stool and to avoid it I ducked and allowed my brother to catch it on the back of his head. That scar is still there and he does not grow hair in that little area. It's not noticeable anymore though. I have scars on my corneas because my college housemate bought a ferret whose shit infected the water supply. Don't shower with contacts, kids. I've got a scar on my lip. Everyone thinks I've had a cleft before and had surgery on it. Reality. I was 3 running full force through the house and fell with a book in my hand. Sliced my lip right open on a paper cut. I still very much remember that moment. Everyone holding me down so they could clean the blood off my face, lol. I was about 6 or 7, and I had a pair of scissors I wasn't supposed to have. They were my mom's fabric shears, and had super sharp blades, you know, the all-metal type, 80s style. Well, I didn't want to give them back because I was using them to cut up her sheet, I believe. So, strike 2. So I ran from her. We were going in circles around the little divider wall between our kitchen and living room like Tom and Jerry, lol. Her screaming at me to please stop running, and me running even harder and laughing like a maniac. I have no idea WTF I was thinking, since I knew an ass whipping was imminent for not only disrespecting my mama, but running with said scissors. In my memory now, it's comical. At the time, I was scared to death. Then my dad came home, and I really panicked. I just knew I was about to get my bells rung. So I tossed the scissors straight up in the air as I was running. Smart, right? I was in self-preservation mode at that time, doing anything to avoid the inevitable. They boomeranged back towards me, and one of the blades hit me in the foot like a FK javelin. OMG the pain. And it bled forever, it seemed. I'm now in my 40s and I still have that scar on my foot, shaped like a little moon. SMH.FKN kids. I swear. Ate a lot, got fat, lots of stretch marks. Child me should have eaten a fucking salad. Bumped into a kid taller than me while running in the corridor. He lost a teeth. I got a dent above my eyebrow. Under my left eye I have a burn from when I wanted to test how hot the car cigarette lighter was. Full disclosure, I was an adult. I'd bought a new set of kitchen knives. Expensive ones. Very sharp. They were in individual sleeves, affixed to a plastic insert with a cable tie. I opened one with brute force. Then I used that one to cut the cable tie on another. Except it cut through the cable tie much easier than anticipated, and I stabbed myself in the forearm. Monsieur. I fell off my bed and my forehead hit a brass metal corner of my TV stand, and now I have a faint Harry Potter scar. When I was around 10, I was just playing soccer with some of my neighbors. We were playing penalties, and when it was my turn I picked up the ball and carried it over to shoot my shot per se. I put the ball down on the ground, took my usual 3 steps back and did my little ritual. Mostly me just doing a silly little slap on my cheeks and thighs so it looked like I knew what I was doing. I take 2 steps as I focus on the ball. 1 more and I look up at the goalkeeper. Pow! I end up kicking the back of my calf with my big toe and manage to break the toe. I just didn't have the greatest motor skills in the world.